In the beginning, before time had measured moments, and before the earth knew its contours, there was only the vast expanse of darkness, unbroken, silent, and infinite. The Spirit of God hovered over the formless void, a presence as gentle as a whisper yet as powerful as the heart of the universe. No sun warmed the heavens, no wind stirred the waters. All was still, pregnant with potential, waiting for the first breath of divine command. In that profound emptiness, one could almost feel the anticipation of creation itself, as though the cosmos held its breath. Every molecule of nothingness seemed to pulse with expectancy, sensing that life, light, and love were about to unfold. And then, as if the very silence had ears, a voice, resonant, eternal, pierced the void. "Let there be light." And in that instant, the cosmos leaned closer, ready to witness the miracle that would set the universe into motion. Light burst forth like a symphony of radiance, scattering the shadows that had reigned unchallenged since eternity. Day and night began their sacred dance, a rhythm of balance and order that reflected the mind of their creator. The darkness recoiled, not in defeat, but in reverent submission, acknowledging the power of a word that could summon existence from nothing. God saw the light, and in his eternal wisdom deemed it good. Yet, the earth remained unformed, its waters deep and chaotic, restless beneath the new illumination. The Spirit moved across the surface of the waters, a gentle, nurturing presence shaping what was yet unseen. The world was in its infancy, and though it seemed silent, every ripple, every shadow, and every spark of light bore the signature of divine intention. In this sacred emergence, humanity could glimpse the majesty of order born from pure purpose, a pattern of hope written across the heavens. And then God commanded, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, to divide the waters from the waters." With these words, the sky unfolded above the deep, like a vast, jeweled canopy. Clouds began their celestial waltz, and the horizon stretched endlessly, revealing a tapestry of endless possibility. Beneath this heavenly vault, the waters separated, forming seas that murmured softly as if acknowledging their place in the divine design. In the silence of creation, one could almost hear the whisper of eternity woven into every drop, a promise that chaos would bow to order, and that life would flourish in the balance of light and sky. The firmament glimmered under the newborn light, a mirror reflecting both the majesty above and the promise of life yet to come. It was a moment of pure, divine artistry, a glimpse into the heart of a God who speaks, and all creation listens, utterly captivated by his voice. The next command poured from God's lips with unwavering authority. "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear." Mountains and valleys rose slowly from the embrace of the seas, sculpted by hands unseen but divinely guided. Rivers carved silver paths through nascent continents, and the soil, rich and fragrant, awaited the touch of life. God observed his work, and a sense of satisfaction glowed within the heavens, as if the very cosmos acknowledged the unfolding brilliance. The land stretched wide, inviting life, promising abundance, yet it remained silent, a canvas awaiting the brushstrokes of divine creativity. Little did anyone know, this quiet moment of formation carried a lesson for all humanity. From chaos and uncertainty, order can emerge when guided by intention, patience, and the wisdom of a higher power. The earth, newly formed, shimmered with potential, an empty stage ready for the drama of life to unfold. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees yielding fruit according to their kind." At once, green began to carpet the land, creeping over hills and valleys with a quiet insistence. Flowers opened their delicate petals, releasing scents that whispered of beauty yet to come. Trees stretched skyward, branches intertwining as if in silent praise, and fruits swelled with promise, each a miniature miracle. The land, once barren, now vibrated with life, a testament to the power of divine word. Even in its infancy, creation exhibited harmony, a balance between abundance and restraint, growth and restraint. The narrative of life had begun not with struggle, but with the blessing of provision. And in that moment, the universe offered a reflection to humanity. Growth emerges when purpose is spoken and nurtured, and beauty is born when intention meets patience. The day turned to evening, and God's voice continued to weave order into existence. Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark seasons, days, and years. Sun, moon, and stars ignited into brilliance, scattering across the canvas of night like diamonds cast by a master jeweler. Light danced and shimmered, painting the heavens with constellations that would guide generations. Humanity, though not yet formed, would one day look upward and find not only navigation and cycles, but hope, dreams, and the reflection of the Creator's majesty. The firmament was no longer merely a ceiling above the waters. It became a testament, a clock, and a mirror of divine wisdom. In the silent vastness, stars twinkled as if to say, "We are the witnesses of your glory," and the universe itself seemed to exhale in awe. God then turned his attention to the waters, declaring, "Let the waters teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens." The seas erupted with life. Fish of every shape and color swam in joyful abundance, while birds soared into the sky, wings catching the sunlight in a symphony of movement. Each creature, though silent, embodied purpose and order, demonstrating instinct and grace, beauty and utility. The world grew vibrant, and a sense of divine choreography emerged as every being found its place. Heaven watched in silence, for this moment marked the interweaving of freedom and divine guidance, a balance between autonomy and obedience that would echo in humanity for ages to come. Creation was no longer an empty stage, it was alive, singing the praises of its maker in a language beyond words, resonating in the soul of anyone who would one day marvel at its complexity. Finally, God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, creeping things, and beasts of the earth." And so, the land roared with life, majestic lions, cautious deer, and countless creatures scuttling in the undergrowth. Each moved according to God's design, a symphony of existence perfectly attuned to the rhythms of the world. And then, in a sacred, quiet moment, God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." Humanity was born not from clay alone, but from divine intention imbued with purpose, creativity, and stewardship. Here was a being capable of love, reason, and reflection, a reflection of God himself walking on newly formed soil. And as the first chapter of creation drew to a close, a truth emerged for the human heart. We are the pinnacle of intention, tasked with care, honor, and reverence for all that God has spoken into existence. In the beginning, order emerged from chaos, not through chance, but through the deliberate voice of God. The human soul is reminded that life itself begins with intention and listens to the words that shape it, teaching us patience, awe, and reverence for every act of creation. As the earth teemed with life, God's attention turned to the air above and the lands below, shaping a world alive with rhythm and interaction. Birds glided effortlessly, calling to one another in harmonies that seemed to echo the voice of their creator. Fish wove intricate patterns through the seas, their scales catching the sun in a dazzling array of colors, while beasts roamed freely, each step echoing in the newly formed valleys. Humanity, crafted in God's own image, stood in awe, feeling the pulse of creation vibrate through their being. Their hearts were not yet burdened by fear or desire, they were pure witnesses to the majesty of divine orchestration. In this moment, the Creator's intention was revealed clearly. Life was not random, but a meticulously woven tapestry, each creature, plant, and element perfectly placed to teach, inspire, and coexist. Humanity's first breath was not merely survival, it was a sacred act of participation in God's ongoing work. God then bestowed a command that would echo throughout eternity: be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over every living thing. These words carried both authority and trust, inviting humanity into a partnership with the Creator. As the first humans explored the lush landscapes, feeling the texture of soil and the warmth of sunlight, a sense of wonder enveloped them. Every leaf, every ripple in a stream, and every whisper of wind became a language through which they could converse with the divine. And yet, with great power came responsibility: to honor life, to steward the world wisely, to reflect God's image through compassion and care. The first moments of obedience were not burdensome, they were joyful. Little did the humans realize, the divine blueprint placed within them would guide countless generations, teaching that true authority is inseparable from love, respect, and humility. The first sunrise brought more than light, it brought revelation. Humanity walked the fertile land, naming every creature, delighting in its uniqueness. Lions, tigers, birds of brilliant plumage, and fishes with shimmering scales, each received a name, a declaration of understanding and dominion. God's presence was palpable, a gentle warmth that radiated through their souls, reminding them that creation was not merely a backdrop, but a living testimony of His glory. And in the midst of this divine intimacy, a moral insight emerged: knowledge is sacred when paired with reverence. Every name spoken was an act of recognition, an acknowledgement that life itself is sacred and that humanity's role is not to exploit, but to honor. Through naming, they experienced stewardship not as obligation, but as communion with the heart of God. As the evening fell, the Creator observed the world with satisfaction. Birds returned to nests tucked safely among the trees, beasts settled into dens, rivers rippled softly under a sky painted in crimson and gold. Humanity paused in awe, their hearts swelling with gratitude and humility. For the first time, they tasted the quiet joy of reflection, recognizing that creation was not only beautiful, but alive, interconnected in ways invisible to the eye. In this sacred moment, God's Spirit whispered the first lessons of faith: that life thrives when nurtured, that obedience leads to flourishing, and that gratitude is the bridge between creation and Creator. Here, under the vast expanse of the firmament, humanity learned that the divine presence is not distant, but intimate, woven into the rhythm of wind, water, and the heartbeat of every living being. Then God introduced a rhythm that would govern all life: the cycle of day and night, the passing of seasons, and the rising of celestial bodies that measured time. Sun and moon became more than lights, they were markers of faithfulness, proof that God's word sets the pace of existence. Humanity watched as the moon's glow mirrored the sun's warmth, learning that even in darkness, divine guidance remains. The interplay of light and shadow became a teacher of trust. Night would come, yet day would always follow. Every moment held a lesson about patience, perseverance, and reliance upon the Creator's plan. Even the smallest ripple in a pond or the faintest bird call was infused with purpose. This sacred orchestration reminded humanity that faith is not merely belief. It is living in harmony with the patterns of life God has set into motion. The waters, now teeming with life, became theaters of divine artistry. Schools of fish danced in synchronous motion, and creatures unknown to the human eye performed movements that spoke of instinct and perfection. Birds filled the sky, their wings slicing through currents as though writing invisible poetry across the heavens. Humanity observed, marveling at the order within chaos, understanding instinct and creativity as gifts from God. Even the tiniest creatures, the creeping things of the earth, held their place in this symphony of existence. God's presence was evident in every motion, every instinctive act of survival, revealing that life is sacred in all its forms. And in this divine spectacle, humans glimpsed the moral truth: each being matters, and recognizing their value is an act of obedience, reverence, and empathy. But the Creator's work was not merely about abundance, it was also about discernment and boundaries. God separated waters from waters, land from sea, day from night, each act reflecting wisdom and intentionality. Humans, walking amidst this structured beauty, learned that freedom without boundaries can lead to chaos. Divine limits were not restrictions but safeguards, guiding creation toward harmony and sustainability. Every plant, every river, every creature thrived within the framework God established. Humanity felt the weight and wonder of responsibility. Their stewardship was a reflection of divine order, a microcosm of the cosmic rhythm. This realization settled deep in their hearts, a moral compass that would shape future generations. Boundaries set with love are blessings, and obedience to wisdom ensures life flourishes in its fullest potential. Then God paused, surveying creation in its fullness. Every light, every sound, every movement testified to his omnipotence. Humanity, now fully awake to the glory surrounding them, sensed a divine invitation to participate consciously in the ongoing miracle of life. The earth had been formed, filled, and blessed, yet the story was just beginning. The Creator's gaze lingered on humanity, imbuing them with intellect, emotion, and spiritual awareness. "Here is my image," he declared, "a steward of all that I have spoken into being." In this moment, awe and responsibility converged. The human heart understood that power is inseparable from accountability, that privilege carries obligation, and that life, in all its wonder, is a trust, not a possession. As night fell over the newly formed world, a quiet peace settled over land, sea, and sky. Humanity gazed upon the stars, reflecting on the immensity of creation, their hearts swelling with gratitude and reverence. The first chapter of life's story revealed a profound truth: God's word brings order, sustains life, and invites participation. The moral insight was clear: flourishing arises not from dominance, but from alignment with divine intention. In the stillness, humans learned that the rhythm of creation mirrors the rhythm of the soul. Trust, obedience, reflection, and reverence allow life to thrive. And as sleep claimed the day's witnesses, heaven watched in silence, a reminder that divine love is patient, purposeful, and eternally present. Reflective note: for Section 2, life thrives when nurtured in harmony with divine intention. Humanity learns that responsibility, reverence, and obedience are not constraints, but invitations to participate in the ongoing miracle of creation. As creation neared its completion, God beheld the world with eyes that measured not just form, but purpose. Every star, every river, every creature reflected intention and care. Yet the pinnacle of this divine tapestry was humanity, made in his own image, gifted with intellect, emotion, and moral discernment. The first humans stood on fertile soil, feeling the breeze that carried the scent of flowers and the salt of distant seas. They marveled at their reflection in still waters, sensing something within them that resonated with the Creator. God spoke softly: "I have given you life, stewardship, and freedom. Use them wisely." In that sacred moment, humanity understood that life is not merely a gift to receive, but a trust to uphold. Awe mixed with responsibility, and reverence became instinct, laying the foundation for faith that would echo through generations. God's work of creation now encompassed harmony, abundance, and moral order. The first humans explored the lands, naming animals, tending to gardens, and observing the cycles of sun, moon, and seasons. Each act of care mirrored divine creativity, every thought and movement echoing the Maker's intention. The world, once void and formless, now sang with life, a symphony of interwoven existence where every being had a voice. And yet, there was an underlying lesson. The beauty and complexity of creation demand conscious participation. Humans learned that existence is not passive observation, but active stewardship, a sacred duty to maintain balance, honor life, and cultivate harmony. In this, God imparted a timeless principle that life, when lived in alignment with divine wisdom, flourishes and becomes a witness to His eternal glory. In the cool of the evening, the Creator walked among His handiwork, a presence unseen yet profoundly felt. The first humans sensed His nearness in the rustle of leaves, the whisper of the wind, and the gentle ripple of water. God's voice resonated not as command alone, but as guidance, encouraging reflection, gratitude, and moral discernment. Tend the garden, care for one another, and live in harmony with all I have made, He said. This divine dialogue revealed the essence of human vocation: to live responsibly, compassionately, and in reverence to the sacred order. The world, alive with movement, light, and sound, was both a playground and a classroom, teaching lessons of obedience, empathy, and wisdom. Humanity understood that connection to God is inseparable from connection to the world He created, and that love expressed through stewardship mirrors divine love itself. Night descended fully, and stars sparkled like 1,000 silent witnesses. Humanity gazed upward, contemplating the vast expanse, understanding for the first time the scale and intentionality of creation. Each constellation, each celestial movement, was a reminder that God's word sustains life across time and space. The humans reflected on the moral clarity embedded in creation. Boundaries exist not to restrict, but to guide. Abundance is a reflection of generosity. Life flourishes when order and purpose are respected. The Creator had spoken, and all that existed listened, responded, and thrived. And in this sacred rhythm, humans discovered profound truth. Faith is not merely belief, but alignment, living in harmony with the divine blueprint woven into every mountain, river, bird, and star. God then looked upon all that He had made and declared it very good. It was not simply aesthetic beauty that merited this praise, but the intricate interconnection, the harmony of life, and the presence of moral and spiritual order. Humans, sensing the weight and wonder of this declaration, felt the echo in their own hearts. Goodness is the fruit of intention, care, and alignment with divine will. Life was now a living testament to God's wisdom, an intricate mosaic where each part enhanced the whole. The first humans understood that their thoughts, actions, and choices carried consequences not just for themselves, but for the harmony of all creation. In this realization, reverence deepened, humility took root, and gratitude became a natural response to the infinite generosity of the Creator. In this final phase of creation, God rested, not out of fatigue, but to establish a rhythm of reflection, sanctity, and sacred pause. The seventh day became a symbol of divine balance, teaching humanity the value of rest, contemplation, and worship. The first humans observed this day as holy, sensing that true flourishing requires reflection and alignment with the source of life. In these moments of stillness, God's presence was tangible in silence, in the quiet rustling of leaves, and in the soft chorus of evening creatures. Humanity learned a timeless lesson. Life is a cycle of work and rest, action and reflection, activity and spiritual mindfulness. Through this rhythm, humans are invited to participate in the ongoing miracle of creation while maintaining communion with the divine. As night gave way to dawn, the first humans stood on the fertile earth, surrounded by flourishing life, aware of the divine order that governed it all. Their hearts swelled with gratitude, reverence, and a profound sense of purpose. They realized that every word God spoke had brought existence into being. Every star, every tree, every creature bore the mark of his voice. In this sacred awareness, humans understood that their own words, actions, and intentions are powerful forces capable of creating or destroying, building or scattering. And in this revelation, a spiritual truth was etched into the human soul. To live aligned with God's will is to participate in the ongoing work of creation, bringing light, life, and love into the world in ways both seen and unseen. Finally, the world stood complete, a living testament to God's wisdom, power, and love. Humanity, entrusted with stewardship and endowed with His image, faced a horizon full of possibility, wonder, and responsibility. The lessons of creation, order emerging from chaos, life blossoming through intention, and goodness flourishing through stewardship, were eternal, designed to guide every generation that would follow. And as heaven watched in silence, the human heart absorbed the timeless truth: God's word creates, sustains, and blesses. To honor life is to honor the Creator. In this sacred understanding, humanity glimpsed the essence of faith, hope, and divine purpose. The story of creation, though ancient, remains a living mirror for all hearts. In reverence, care, and alignment with the divine, we participate in the eternal rhythm of life itself. The creation of the world reminds us that life, order, and purpose are gifts entrusted to humanity. By living in alignment with divine intention, honoring every form of life, and embracing rest and reflection, we participate in the ongoing miracle of creation and bear witness to God's eternal goodness.